Hey Canucks fans, welcome to the line change. In this video, we're going to be going over the 6 biggest dark horses who could claim a roster spot after training camp. Now, these 6 dark horses are from an article by our friends over at Canucks Army, and in particular, Stéphane Roger. Now, before we dive into that article, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of this amazing artwork you see here behind me. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. You can also find him on Instagram at gassjackart. I do have a link to his website in the description down below. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and check out this article by Stéphane Roger. And he goes on to say, anytime the countdown gets to 10 or fewer, you know you're getting close. And as you read these words, we are approximately T-minus 10 days. The time of this article was September 7th. So we are now less than 10 days until the opening of Vancouver Canucks training camp. We are now a little over a week away in Penticton, BC, and thus the launch sequence of the 2025-26 NHL season. As we've spent the last month or so covering, this year's edition is set to be a particularly competitive camp with a lot on the line. If there is anything defining the Canucks this season, it's the litany of question marks and quote-unquote what-ifs surrounding the team. Training camp is where some of those questions will start to be answered. We mentioned this in our Elias Pettersson video. We've heard him talk about, what he's done for his offseason, how he's put on 13 pounds of muscle, and, he's completely 100% healthy. He's said all the right things. At come training camp, we will actually be able to see it firsthand. But for a franchise that has 47 different players under contract and will be inviting the majority of them to camp, there are inevitably some names that we've missed mentioning much this summer. Every training camp has its dark horses, and given the uncertainty around the Canucks at this point in time, it stands to reason that they've got a larger stable than the average franchise. Below, we're going to take a look at some players that haven't been penciled in to many rosters this offseason, but who still stand a chance of at least making some noise in Penticton. Maybe, just maybe, beating the odds to actually steal a roster spot for themselves. Let's start off with Nils Aman. We obviously have not really talked at all about Nils Aman. Center, 25 years old, 6'2", 179 pounds. In 2024-25, for the Vancouver Canucks, he played 19 games, 6 points, a goal, and 5 assists. And then with Abbotsford, 30 points in 36 games, 7 goals, and 23 assists. If there was an annual award for most forgotten Canuck, it would be Aman's to lose. Once thought to have potential long-term future as a bottom 6 NHL center, Aman has been leapfrogged on the center depth chart by both Aatu Räty and Max Sasson in quick succession. And that's left him on the outside of most roster projections looking in. It says a lot when someone is still technically on the NHL roster from last season and is still not penciled into anyone's mock-up of next year's roster. That's all exacerbated by a weird end to the season for Aman. He was recalled in mid-February and then not papered back down to Abbotsford at the trade deadline, which meant he was ineligible for the AHL playoffs. Then he got injured through a scary board collision at practice and missed the end of the NHL season too. Where a lot of players in the organization were making their name with late season NHL cameos or a deep Calder Cup run, Aman was on the sidelines being forgotten about. Still, if there's one thing the Canucks aren't deep on, it's centers. And you never know what a player might accomplish in any given offseason. Aman has always had the size, the skating, and a medium amount of skill. Last year, he started to show some inklings of physicality. If he's also added some face-off ability, it's not outside the realm of possibility that he steals that 4C job away in camp, or at least comes out of it as a 13th utility forward. Next up, we have Chase Stillman, right winger, 22 years old, 6'1", 185 pounds. In the 2024-25 season with the Utica Comets and the Wilkes-Barre Penguins for the AHL, 12 points in 65 games, 4 goals, 8 assists. You will probably remember Stillman as the mostly disappointing centerpiece of the Archer Sealoff's return. Unfortunately, disappointment has been a theme for a player once selected at 29th overall, who has since topped out at 24 points in a single AHL campaign. But what Stillman has going for him is rambunctious. He's been described as hard to play against and is starting to develop a reputation as an agitator, or a rat in less polite terms. And given the success of the Florida Panthers, he might just be entering a few consecutive years of the rat around the NHL. If Stillman can get into some preseason games and then get under the skin of the opposition, that might be exactly the kind of positive attention that can get him onto the Canucks' radar for 2025-26. Even if he doesn't crack the roster right out of camp, he's battling uphill against several PPG players at the AHL level who just won a championship together. He could at least land his name higher on the recall list, particularly for games against rival teams. Next up we have is Jet Wu, a defenseman, 25 years old, 6 foot, 205 pounds, in 2024-25 with the Abbotsford Canucks. 18 points in 67 games, 2 goals, 16 assists. Plenty of folks are rooting for Abbotsford all-time games played leader amongst Blue Liners, especially after he was a leading contributor to the Calder Cup win. Despite him still waiting for his first NHL game, Wu enters training camp with a better chance of cracking the NHL roster than most will give him credit for. It all comes down to handedness. Wu is just one of 5 right shot defenders in the entire organization. 2 of them, Philip Hronik and Tyler Myers, are locked into roster spots. 2 more of them, Tom Wielander and Victor Mancini, are expected to battle it out for the final 3rd spot. But if both Wielander and Mancini look as though they need some extra seasoning in the AHL, that would significantly up Wu's chances. Sure, most projections have P.O. Joseph ranked ahead of him on the depth chart, but Joseph is another left-handed defenseman, and if Wielander and Mancini are in Abbotsford, it's tough to imagine the Canucks rolling with a roster of 6 left-shot defensemen and just 2 right-side defensemen. Even if it says a press box extra, 8D, Wu has a real shot at this. As we've mentioned recently, Wu still probably qualifies as the hardest hitting player in the organization. One has to imagine that's something the incoming coach, Adam Foote, especially values. Next up, we have Braden Coots, center, 18 years old, 6 foot, 183 pounds, in 2024-25 with the Seattle Thunderbirds of the Western Hockey League. He had 63 points in 60 games, 26 goals, 37 assists. We're not the first to bring up the possibility of Coots playing at least a 9-game cameo for the Canucks this season. He might not have NHL size or strength just yet, but his skating and smarts are a plus, and everyone knows there's not an abundance of competition at center. Actually, speaking of that, the Canucks' inability to land a long-term 2-seed this summer increases the odds that they're looking at Coots as the eventual medium-term solution there. If they'd like to start him toward that role as soon as next season, then a little audition to start this season isn't the worst idea in the world. And really, it's not. One thing working in Coots' favor, he is quite literally the only right-handed center in the entire organization. The smart money is on him returning to the WHL for one last season before the rule changes allow him to join the AHL as a 19-year-old next year. But stranger things have happened in Vancouver. Next up, we have Danila Klimovich, right wing, 22 years old, 6'2", 202 pounds, in 2024-25 with the Abbotsford Canucks. 38 points in 65 games, 25 goals, 13 assists. This was a quiet breakout campaign for Klimovich with new career highs across the board. At the same time, his still occasional healthy scratches got just as much press, and maybe that's fair. Klimovich really started getting some positive attention in the AHL playoffs, where he was still an occasional healthy scratch, but made the most of his time in the lineup with some clutch overtime winners. He remains one of the best shooters in the organization and has that intriguing blend of attitude and snarl not typically seen in a player with his profile. There are still an abundance of holes in his game, but we've talked already about the power of a single productive offseason. Maybe Klimovich has sealed up some of those deficiencies this summer. The fact that he is still exempt from waivers seriously hurts his chances of beating out some of his Abbey teammates for a spot this year, but a good showing could at least put him more on the big team's radar than he was before, and that could lead to his first NHL call-up down the line. Next up, we have Mackenzie McEachran, left winger, 31 years old, 6'2", 193 pounds. In 2024-25 with Springfield in the AHL, 32 points in 40 games, 12 goals, 20 assists. Meet your new Phil DiGiuseppe. Okay, I don't know about that. Not a whole lot of people can replace Pizza Man. PDG. Really not happy about us losing him, but that's a story for another day. If any veteran is going to come out of nowhere and challenge for a spot in camp, as DiGiuseppe made a habit of doing the past several seasons, it's probably McEachran. He's a 31-year-old veteran of 123 NHL games and several hundred in the minors. He played on the 2018-2019 Cup-winning St. Louis Blues roster as a rookie, though not in the playoffs, and has bounced back and forth between the NHL and AHL ever since. Like DiGiuseppe, McEachran is someone who came up as a skilled draftee and then had to develop his game into that of a hard-working grinder. He's earned plenty of accolades for his work ethic and for being a highly coachable player. Sounds like the exact sort of player who might win the hearts of Foot and company in camp, and someone who might give the established crew in Abbotsford more of a run for their money than most are expecting. So that is interesting. He was a part of the 2018-2019 Cup-winning St. Louis Blues roster. Didn't we just have a guy like that? Oh, yeah, Sammy Blais. So maybe instead of saying meet your new PDG, meet your new Sammy Blais. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But that is the end of the article. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with these 6 biggest dark horses who could potentially claim a roster spot after training camp? Do you guys have different names that could be dark horses who could claim a roster spot after training camp? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media, as you can see there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, as well as TikTok. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. And it really helps out the podcast as well. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, let's go Canucks. And I'll see you guys in the next video.